Alright guys, here we are. It's a new season. It's past 100 episodes. We're here for episode 101, here with Angus. Bit late as usual.
Also known as Season 2, Episode 1. I was actually right on time. But, it's a bit fucked up because you should probably get here as a host. I feel like we should be here a little bit early. I don't know why I'm lecturing you on this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
just saying it on record so I can keep myself accountable.
True. And today we have a very special guest. We've had a lot of his camp on. Well, 2 of his camp, maybe 3. Tyson Pedro, George Kambobos' Jr.
Yeah, Ty on.
We haven't had two of us, but we want to get him on and we will.
Just keep a shoe handy.
Yeah, shoey handy because you have one on Sharp. Fighter and the kid, sorry.
No, it was on Big
Brown Breakdown.
Or Below the Belt.
Anyway, today our guest is their strength and conditioning coach and coach of many other fighters, Meer, and I'm already going to cook your last name.
You went red. You went red.
Awny.
Awny.
God damn it. I never get first names wrong. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Good. Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Mate, absolute pleasure.
I'm pumped.
And I got to say, I don't know what I ate for lunch, but I'm starting to sweat, and I'm like, oh man. I said, Angus, you might have to spearhead this, but I feel like...
Let's kick it off with the first question.
Well, let's not even get into a question. Well, let's get into a question first, but how did you all get started with all this? Explain what you're doing first, actually, for the listeners that don't know you, and then how you got into it, Meer.
Cool. My name is Meer. The surname is Awny.
Awny.
Oscar's red already, look at
dude. Like I said, I've got the sweat. I don't know what I ate for lunch.
Oscar's fucked up. He's got a fucked foot. He's got fucked eyes. Now his stomach's fucked.
Mate, don't start with my injuries. What I do currently, I'm a strength and conditioning coach, primarily working with combat sport athletes. I started out, so after my sports science degree, I did some volunteer work and working elsewhere with every sport besides combat, and then that just made me realize how much I wanted to niche and kind of work with combat athletes because that was my personal sporting background. I started working with amateur boxers initially through my own boxing, I guess, affiliations because I was competing at the time, and it just kind of went from there. I've been overseas, fortunate enough to be surrounded by some really good coaches and mentors, and that's just kind of shaped where I am now, and who knows where I'll go, man. It's been a last 2.5 years has been awesome. It's been really good.
So you were a boxer back in the day?
So I started when I was 15 at a place in Broadway. I don't think they're in Broadway anymore. It's called Jin Wukun, and my coach was Sifu Chek Fai. So I started kickboxing with him. Then I got into... my fighting story started with the Never Back Down movie.
Yeah. So I mentioned this. We were speaking about for episode 100, our favourite sporting movie of all time.
Fucking Never Back Down.
Never Back Down, and I love the new Creed with Michael B. Jordan.
I can't wait to watch it, man.
The second one's going to be great. But yes, it's been the second Never Back Down. Worst movie I've ever seen.
The worst one? Like, compared to the first one? Yeah, that's what I mean.
The first was just the best.
Like, they nailed it. I finished that movie, I was 14 in the cinemas, and I'm like, I need to be a fighter.
See, for me, I was like, I just want to get jacked like the bad guy. Ryan! Ryan was the good guy.
The evil guy, the best rig in the movie.
So jacked.
No, I reckon his coach did, the African...
He's in
what's that phrase that he says in the movie? When he's hitting it, I can't remember. I'm not going to butcher it, but it's the best movie.
So then Dean Geyer, who won Australian Idol in 2007, is the main character in the second one.
How did they fuck up
I think that was a blow.
They fucked it up. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? And it was his one and only acting gig.
But then again, the bad guy in the first one was also the bad guy in the OC.
Yeah, in the OC, Volchek.
Volchek, that's right. Yeah.
But I can't remember his name. I know Ryan was the good guy in the movie, and then...
I was just worried about APAC.
Yeah, he was so jacked. Like him and Brad Pitt in Fight Club.
Fight Club.
So jacked. Fight Club, another... Could you call that a sporting movie?
Yes.
Maybe. You reckon?
Yeah.
It's like street brawling. Yeah. But Never Back Down.
It's an underground sport.
It's true. Anyway, so you watched Never Back Down.
So I watched Never Back Down, got into kickboxing initially, then I started doing MMA, bit of wrestling. So I had kickboxing, boxing fights. I was doing in-house MMA comps, but I was too young to compete as an MMA fighter at the time because I was under 18. And more recently, to keep my head sane, I'll compete in jiu-jitsu at the moment. That's just because I love combat sports. For me, it's important to stay close to the sport so I can know the culture. That's been a big thing, so I can relate to my athletes as well, and I just love it, man. If you fought before, anyone who's listening, you know how it is. Like it's just euphoric. You can't stop. Once you start some sort of combat sports, you can't stop.
I think
there's something about getting punched and choked. You stop.
Look, everyone everyone does say, I guess it's like anything, right? They say you sort of get the first punch in the head, you realise it's not as bad as you thought it would be, or like the first time you get choked out and then you're like, okay, then it's more than just a fight, it becomes a sport, like any other sport.
Yeah, exactly. It's cliche, but people like... martial arts humbles you as a person, and it's the fucking biggest cliche, but it's true. Like, I was the biggest dick when I started fighting. I was just like kid, 15, 14,
you want to beat everyone up on the street.
Yeah, you know, I was like troublemaker at school, and then I got to training, I got bashed, and I was like, okay.
Everyone can really be up here.
The nicest guy just mauled me. Sweet, I'm going to be a nice guy now, type thing. You know?
Nothing more humbling than when you get choked out for the first time and wake up with a boner.
Was that by your girlfriend or someone on the jiu-jitsu mats?
And the person choking you out was a female. And she was a toddler.
Let's do this back. So, you did a couple of scraps. I shouldn't call it a scrap when it's
scraps. It's a noble art.
It's a noble art. You had a couple of fights, and then did you just feel like you were better at preparing for the fights than executing, or what? Talk us through the record.
So it's a good question. For me, I guess I didn't have who I'm trying to be when I was trying to be a fighter. So that's my why. I want to be the person that I wish I had when I was trying to be a fighter. Someone to message you, see how you're going, follow up when you weren't making training sessions, ask you how you're feeling, and just try and put things in place. If you ask any of the guys that I work with, it goes well beyond coming in for an hour strength and conditioning session once or twice a week. Like, I'm invested in them as people, not just as athletes. I want to see them succeed in general. So for me, it wasn't so much that I failed as an athlete, it was I just never had the things in place to take it as far as I wanted to as an athlete. And then I got to university and I started enjoying sports science. And I started pursuing that more so than my actual athletic career.
Yeah, because it's pretty hectic out there for fighters, even at the top level. Like, you see so many guys. Have you seen the montages of Cain Velasquez deadlifting?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, how did he blow out his back?
Yeah.
It's like, it's wild. And then Tony Ferguson, have you seen him?
El Cucuy.
Yeah, I love him as well.
I love Ferguson, man. That pressure that he keeps is insane. Like, he's in your face, he's moving, he's non-stop, but he's got his own methods. You can't take that as the standard for what everyone else is doing. I think as a whole, like, the fighting community is excelling in terms of performance. With the UFC Performance Institute, with like good coaches now that are applying things that we've been applying in other sports for so long into a new sport, and that's what it is. Like, if we're looking at MMA, the sport's been around for 20 years, if that, like at a high level. 10 years really, I'd say the last 10 years MMA has
you have superstars.
Yeah, exactly.
Global superstars.
Exactly. Like, now it's popular. It's a sport. Like, they're thinking of making jiu-jitsu an Olympic event soon. So
that'd be sick.
That'd be awesome. That'd be amazing, and it should be. I think it's the fastest growing solo combat sport in the world at the moment.
And there's enough countries participating in it now where it could be competitive.
Yeah,
it's not all going to be Brazil or America.
There are so many like jiu-jitsu events in Sydney alone, like almost 2 or 3 a month, and they were busy. They were doing great.
Really busy.
So I hope I answered your question. I feel like we're going to fucking go off track a lot in this podcast.
Yeah, that's what
I apologise, man.
No.
I get passionate and I'm like here and then I'm there.
But that's when you find out the good information. And something I want to speak about, and I know that you've written it down in your notes, is so usually most strength and conditioning coaches know that this is where the season starts and this is where it ends. Whereas you've got to sort of constantly be prepared for different spaces in times where your athlete comes to you and goes, okay, I got to fight in 3 months, or I'm being called up in a month, or I'm being called up in 6 months.
Acyclical was the term, right?
Acyclical. Or there's speculation as well. So how do you talk us through the periodization, and is it obviously different for every athlete, different for every sport?
Yeah, definitely. Well, different combat sports require different, I guess, sub-factors of training. It's so to say, like a grappler has different demands than a boxer. But from a more like global perspective, it's always good for me to work backwards as much as I can. With amateur boxers, for example, it's harder because an amateur boxer, it's important for them because they consider that as their apprenticeship. They need to be competing pretty frequently. So if you're looking at like a long-term approach and you want to develop capacities with this athlete, it's not hard to do that. You just kind of got to be realistic in saying that this guy's going to compete probably every 2 to 4 weeks for the year, given that he or she doesn't have any major injuries. Whereas with guys like, I'll give you an example that I work with, like Tyson, Ty or George, you kind of know that there's a space more often than not, there's a space between their fights, a couple of months, where you can, look back, profile the athlete, go, okay, these are the things that we're going to have best return with you based on your current routine and that person, and you can then develop those qualities. In that case, I worked backwards, like Tyson's fighting Shogun, but he kind of told me, hey, look, I want to be fighting at the end of the year at some stage, whether November or December, possible like one of these 2 or 3 cards. I don't know against who. I guess for a strength and conditioning coach, it's less not concerning, but the demand, I don't need to know so much what Shogun's going to do. That's what his technical coaches worry about in terms of technical game planning for that person. I look and go, okay, what does Tyson need the most at the moment? Like, what's the best return for him? And then we'll develop those qualities. Obviously, it happens in a holistic manner, and I work backwards. So when's the event? The first thing I'll consider is, okay, what's your weight right now based on where we are in the fight camp? And then go, okay, where do we need to get so we can actually start making some performance gains? He's pretty good with that stuff, so we can get straight into it. He came back from his last trip, and we got straight into it. He said, I'm going to be fighting in about 3 or 4 months. So can I get technical on this podcast?
100%, yeah. We like to think our listeners are pretty educated.
We might not understand, but our listeners will.
So I guess like in terms of like training phases, we had like a structural remodeling like type training block. We did a lot of eccentric work. He wasn't doing a lot of sparring, so I wasn't too concerned with I wasn't too worried about how sore he was for sparring because he wasn't sparring. So during that time we built good capacities. That went off to our second most previous phase, which was like an isometric strength type block, and then strength block, so more concentric focused. He's like so strong at the moment. He looks really good. Don't have any like injuries that we're worried about. I'm liaising with his physical therapist really well.
Have IMG models stepped in and gone, we need to build those biceps or something? Because I saw you got picked up. Shout out to you.
Yeah, hey, like he came in yesterday and he was like, hey, look at this. I'm on IMG models. It's here. Tyson's worldwide now. And I thought he looked like the guy from the Weekend.
Oh yeah,
he looks like the Weekend in the picture.
He looks like in shape.
I'm yet to make like a collage of them to send it to him.
Sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to know if they'd reached
So we finished off that block. So volume progressively got lower, increased intensity. It was more isometric, concentric, strength focused. He's on his way at the moment to Thailand. He got on a flight this morning, he told me. While he's there, like, I need to be realistic. We did this yesterday. We looked at his routine, what his most intense training sessions were, and I tried to just balance out where I could best fit in what I want to do with him in chunks, so it's not taking away from what he's doing. I think it's important to just know that as a strength and conditioning coach, a good analogy I've heard is that we're mechanics. The specialists are the coaches that will teach him how to fight. Ultimately, if you can't fight and you're well conditioned and your performance in terms of what we do is good, you're probably going to lose. If you can't fight, you can't fight. So my priority is always that they can perform their technical sessions with the most availability. They say the most important ability is availability. So I'll make sure that he's not injured, keep him feeling well, and then work on developing his capacities and his performance qualities alongside that. So once he gets to Thailand, we'll get a better idea of what he's doing over there, and then I'll work with him while he's over there to make sure we can fit things in and continue to get him to adapt while he is over there as well. Because it still is a time to adapt, nonetheless.
Yeah, I like what you said about the best ability being availability. Obviously in the UFC we see so many cards ruined by injuries and things like that. So what is the primary focus? Is it injury prevention? Because in my mind, as far as the actual performance aspect, a lot of that does come down to just practicing the skill of it. So do you feel like you can provide a more unique benefit to him by focusing mostly on robustness, or is it equal performance and robustness, or do you think that they just overlap enough?
I took points. I'm trying to take points. So you can't prevent injuries, especially in combat sports, because it's so contact based. And even just in terms of like soft tissue damage by taking leg kicks and taking punches and getting chopped like to your ribs and to your thighs. I still see the stages leading up to a fight as a time to reap adaptation with an athlete. I think if you get too complacent and go, I just need to keep them feeling good. I think in terms of a lack of adaptation and a lack of resilience, that they'll probably get injured from that as well. So I push them regardless if they're getting ready for a fight. I just push them differently. I think it's very important to keep intensity high and progressively increase intensity the closer they get to the fight. Just know when to back off especially once they have to start really watching their weight. And then that depends on the athlete as well. Some athletes make larger weight cuts. Not that that's ideal, but that's just the reality of that athlete. And that has to be taken into consideration as well. So, yeah, in terms of what's the best quality, it depends on the athlete. In terms of what's the best quality for an MMA fighter, that answer is yet to be discovered. It's just too complex of a question and a sport to answer that just yet.
Yeah.
I think the UFC, they just released their cross-sectional analysis of the MMA athlete, and it's a cross-sectional analysis in that they're still trying to answer these questions. Like, okay, what does it take to win in a UFC fight? Because the time ranges are so different. A fight can end in 10 seconds or it can go 25 minutes. So how do you prepare for that? And I think that's why we're all here. Like, we're trying to progress the field and find answers to those questions.
Do you take care of the weight cutting and nutrition for a lot of your athletes, or is that a separate person, or does it depend?
So it depends. And that's an answer to everything, I guess. It depends, because if someone is like a UFC athlete, whether they're in Vegas and have access to or whether they're higher up, they have access to dietitians and nutritionists and all these experts that can give them insight. If you're an amateur boxer who's still studying at university, which is a reality or a majority of a lot of the athletes, you need to be sound in giving them advice, because they're going to ask you for it. Like, I get some guys that have told me in the past, hey, what's my best source of protein? I'm like, okay, well, what are you currently having now? They're like, well, I have a banana after training. And I looked at this kid and I'm like, you serious? Like, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. But he's being genuine. Like, somewhere along the line, that information missed that person. So you best believe that I need to be able to answer his question. Do I practice within the scope of practice? 100%. But in terms of encouraging heavy weight cuts, I don't encourage big weight cuts. A lot of people see it as an advantage, like I'm going to be bigger in the fight, but that's not always an advantage. You've seen a lot of people compete at higher or heavier weight classes and do better. Let's give our local example of Whitaker. Was a welterweight, wasn't doing the best. Middleweight, look at him now, he's the champion. Off the top of my head, another guy from Denver, Anthony Smith, he's a light heavyweight, but he was a middleweight, and he's a light heavyweight now and he's killing it. He's fighting Glover soon, and he's already ranked top 10 in the UFC as a light heavyweight, and he's young too. So I think, for me, I'll give advice where I can, with who I can. If it's with someone who can afford or has access to someone who knows their stuff more than I do, which in nutrition and in weight cutting, there are some people that I would definitely recommend them to or refer them to, then I'll take that.
Yeah, it just seems, especially with the big weight cuts, the idea of being in a calorie deficit, trying to cut weight for a fight as you're trying to peak their intensity leading into it. Like, surely that leads to so many guys getting injured as well. Like, that being in a deficit, you can't recover well. Exactly. So it must really cock block you from actually getting those good adaptations.
And that's the conversation I have. I'm like, look, you're fighting at 77 kilos, so you're a welterweight, and we're 8 weeks out and you weigh 90 kilos. So we got a lot of weight to cut, man. How much performance can we actually get in the next 8 weeks when you're not going to be eating anything? So that's an honest conversation you have to have. And then I'll normally have it after the fight, or if they're considering it, I'll be like, look, maybe it's smart for you to just fight heavier, or if they're an amateur, I'd be like, why don't you fight heavier and see if you feel better at that weight? I always say, like, your amateur career is your time to find those things out. Find out who your team is, find out what a weight cut feels like, find out what it's like to walk out and see a crowd and some lights, find out what it's like to get your hands taped and feel that pressure, because it's very different to spar different people and then to fight live. And
the whole procedure.
Yeah, Kavana said it on his podcast with Joe Rogan, and he said, we tried to prepare Conor as best as we could for Khabib. We got different people in. He even said that, like, we paid people to come in. He was the referee, and he would tell both of them, this is a fight. This is a five-minute fight, and he would stop it if one of them, like, seriously got hurt or submitted. But he said it, you can't prepare for the night, to the point, because that person is different, the crowd is different, and the environment is different. And obviously that showed as well.
Yeah, he definitely didn't prepare for that overhead rifle. That was just, I had such a heart attack.
I don't know why people undermine Khabib's striking.
Especially when you're good at wrestling, because then it's always a threat, because it's just...
Yeah, like, here's how it works. If you're versing someone like Khabib, you're always in threat of ending on the ground. So for him, it's confidence, because he can dictate where he wants to take the fight. He's like, if I want to take you down, I'll take you down. If I want to keep it up, we'll stay standing. And then for someone like Conor, who's a striker and does not like being on his back, he's always got it on his mind that as soon as I see a level change, I'm going to have to sit a bit don't have to sit because this guy's going to get under me. That's what happened. He sat for the level change and then took a nice shot.
Just ate it so hard.
But besides that, man, Khabib trains with some of the best, strikers as well. He's got an excellent boxing coach. So he does it every day. How can you just take that away from him?
Against quality athletes as well.
That's the best
thing
of the
that
best.
shocked me. Just it wasn't necessarily the most technical punch that he threw, but the speed was there. Like you can see
showed that to a boxing coach, they wouldn't be happy with it.
Have you seen
so quick?
All the memes, and I think Mayweather tweeted is like, "We can make it happen." Him Khabib versus Mayweather. I think the meme is the best. I posted it today. It's Khabib. Yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah, I saw it.
That cracks
and Connor's the one behind it.
Yeah, with the beat up face. My next question is:
did we answer the questions on
nutrition and stuff?
Okay, yeah.
Something I see a lot from an outsider looking in is that these fighters just get flogged. Like in America, they get flogged by their S&C coaches. Like they're not doing any sort of strength work. They seem to be on the battle ropes, med ball tosses, all that sort of stuff. How much? And then I obviously look at you, and you're doing. It looks a lot more structured, and I'm assuming it is a lot more structured than what these guys are doing. So what is the process like? Do you have to pull the fighters back a lot when they are super fatigued, or are you sort of finding you can push these guys more, or is it varying person
Some more
to
than
person?
others. Some more than others. That was the best way to approach this question. The problem with combat is that fighters manage themselves. If you go to if you play for the Roosters, you have the Roosters performance staff. If you play for the Swans, you have the Swans performance staff, and they oversee those aspects. A fighter chooses who they want as their strength and conditioning coach. You can have, Jimmy that trains down at, a local boot camp.
Which we see quite a lot.
Yeah, which you see quite a lot. And, the fighters are... that guy might be their friend and just goes, I'll just train with my friend.
Yeah, and that's someone they trust.
Someone they trust. There's a relationship, which is obviously very important in that coach-athlete environment. So then you get guys that are just doing a lot of, fucking shit show, spew bucket type sessions and circuits, 5x5 rounds.
Flogged morning and night by their skills coach.
And then if we talk MMA or even boxing, man, the routine on the routine of a fighter is crazy. An MMA athlete has to juggle anywhere from 3 to 5 different sports within their own hybrid sport. Boxers, a professional boxer does 12 rounds of 3-minute sparring. That's 36 minutes, and they're taking how many punches to the head during that time? Headgear or not, which is controversial itself, there's a lot of damage being done to that person. And then they go and do a circuit type session that's 36 minutes of just, flipping tires and slamming ropes.
Depleting the brain of more
Exactly,
oxygen.
in the sake of saying that if I can, kill myself in training, then I'll kill my opponent, which obviously isn't the case. It's not how it works. But that's been realized for a long time. I think progressively as fighters are more aware of what it actually looks like to have someone behind you on your team that can take care of this, more and more are going to get on board. And I think you're starting to see that already, which is good.
Yeah, it must be so stressful to think about taking a day off when you are preparing for a fight.
That's what it is, man. A lot of the guys are, I'm like, hey, look, I think it's just good if you just, have a day off tomorrow. They're like, nah, but the closer the fight gets, they want to work harder because it equates to them being more ready. And obviously it's like an energy in, energy out kind of, it's a return. What's the ROI on this session? What's the ROI if I do, my 15K run after sparring on a Saturday, when Sunday maybe I could just have a rest and, do an
Hopefully
activity.
they didn't listen to the John Wayne Parr interview.
How do you manage that peak? Have you ever feel like you overcooked the deload a little bit and then they went in and they just weren't as
look, man,
or is
I
it
think
up to the skill coaches with the sparring, because is that more of the factor?
I think if you're going to approach things properly, you have to have an excellent relationship with their skills coaches, which I do my best to. All my fighters that I train, I know all of their skills coaches.
There's big personalities in there though.
100%. And there's a clash between what you do is not important. I haven't had any of those barriers that aggressively yet, where nah, what you're doing is fucking bullshit, that doesn't work, they just need to do more Ks. I've had good buy-in with a lot of my athletes' coaches because they've seen their athletes do well. They've seen their athletes not be as injured as they have been in the past. I've been able to connect them with good physical therapists, and they're being able to see the return on investment again. And yeah, I think that the more that the industry does that, the more the athletes realize that there's a place for that person in their team. I think historically the technical coaches took care of strength and conditioning.
Yeah,
and
battle ropes.
you're fighting for 5 minutes, we'll just do a 5-minute circuit. Or Don't worry about strength. It's
Shark
going to make
Tank.
you slow. Shark Tank, right? Look, there's a time and a place for that, definitely, and it's going to get done.
What's Shark Tank?
One guy in the middle, and then you just line guys up, yeah.
I think if you're
Oh.
doing that at the start of a session, like if that's the sparring session for that athlete, that's fine. Like you're going to do 3 5-minute rounds. Every minute you get a different athlete against you. That's fine. But if you're going to do that at the end of their already regular sparring session for the sake of making them mentally tough, there's arguments for and against, but just depends on the athlete and the person.
Have you been a part of that discussion where people are like, oh, what is it, mental toughness, or is it just who's more prepared? Like, where do you sit on that?
Some things are tradition, and you got to pick your battles. Some things are going to get done whether you like it or not with the skills coach. So if the school coach goes, look, you can train my athlete for twice a week or 2 to 3 times a week, but they're still going to fucking Shark Tank, I'll be like, okay.
You got to do it.
Cool. When are they going to Shark Tank? Saturdays. Sweet. I'll make them feel really good on Friday.
Yeah.
And make them as ready as they can be.
One of the other discussions I've heard, and this is another problem with it just being a sport where they sort of manage themselves, is the idea of fighters taking just time completely off in between fights, because obviously you need to
it's fucking
reset,
stupid.
recuperate. Or because a lot of the guys, especially in terms of having a good gas tank, they seem to be always sort of keeping a finger on it, even in between fights. Do you have much control over whether they just fuck off in between fights?
I do now for sure. Yeah, because there's accountability, right? I'm like, my like brand name is Ethos Performance, and it's culture, character, commitment.
I like that. I see the shirt. That's
right?
good.
Yeah, you got to fucking commit, man. And what's your character like? If you don't have those things, you don't have to work with me. That's fine. I got guys that are doing those things that I want to work with, and the weeds get cropped out straight away. If you train at the Roosters, can you just go, hey, look, I'm not going to come in next week. I'll just show up on game day. I'll see you in 3 weeks. Yeah, mate. Good luck with your contract.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Is that what Bam Bam did?
It doesn't.
Who did you play with?
It doesn't.
Roosters.
He was at the
Oh,
Roosters.
fuck.
Yeah, he was at the Roosters. It doesn't work that way, man. You can't just leave when you want. The guys who are more serious, they have a quick return. Like, I'll give you an example of a few of my guys that, like George fought in America. He came back the first week he was back, he had to readjust with his family and settle back in, and then he was back into training. He's a good example of someone that's always ready, always working on things and always ready. We're kind of just waiting on him now to head over for his next fight camp, whether it's in the Philippines or in America. Can't disclose who will be fighting or who he could be fighting.
But Mayweather undercard? Is he, do you reckon?
I don't know.
I reckon it surely is. I've had my own speculation.
I don't know.
Although
There's some great options for him.
Angus
and
Allen
rightly
to
so.
fight Tank. Gervonta Davis.
Mate,
But apparently
preparing for another 2-minute fight.
Yeah. Him and he's got to fight though. That's where I was like.
Javonta's got a fight. I think he's
Yeah.
on the undercard of the Lomachenko. I think on Lomachenko.
Something, yeah.
Mayweather
It
was
was-
going to feed him to Lomachenko for a second.
Nah, that won't happen. Like Javonta's not ready for Lomachenko.
Nah, I don't think he's ready for George at the moment.
Mate, not at all.
Time will tell
I
though.
think Georgia beat him.
Soon, hopefully soon.
But George is a good example of someone who appreciates what we're doing, and he sees the value in it. Like, he's very resilient. He's not injured. We haven't had any major injuries since we started training together about 1.5 years ago. And Tyson's the same. Like, we've been training consistently now for about 6 months, and he's starting to see the reward, see how he feels. His recovery's improving. His resting heart rate's improving. His conditioning profile's improving. He feels stronger. He feels good. His sparring sessions are more productive for him, and I guarantee you that after the Shogun fight, when he wins, as soon as he's back in Sydney, he'll be back to work, because that's the mentality that he has now. He's a professional athlete, and that's what I tell the guys. You're not a fight camp type athlete. Like, you don't get a fight announced and get ready for that fight. It's too late.
Yeah.
You need to be ready for the announcement of that fight and then peak.
Yeah, where to go.
Or-
So an athlete that I've seen you starting with recently, and I'm not sure how long you've been training, is this Alex, the guy Godly
Alex
Strong?
Simon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
so
Alex is the nicest guy.
The weight
I'm
loss
so happy.
challenge.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's what I want to talk about, because he's just been, from what I see, just destroying guys. Like, he's huge, he's insanely strong, we've all seen. He's powerful. Is he a guy?
He was the strongest man in
in
Australia. I think he was the 10th strongest
He did
man in the
powerlifting for
world.
2 years, and he
Yeah,
got
at
the
24.
9th highest raw
24,
total
man.
of all time.
Which is fucking crazy. But a guy like that, how are you sort of in the back of your mind going, all right, there's going to be a opponent one day where you're not going to knock him out straight away,
Of course.
and we've got to push. Do you think he has the cardio, or is that something you're really working on with him because he is so naturally strong?
like I look at Alex should be fighting in the next 2 weeks. He's fighting October 26th.
Because he's still on that amateur route, yeah?
He's a professional MMA fighter.
Oh, he's a professional, okay.
Professional MMA fighter now.
He's just not in the UFC yet.
No,
Okay.
he will be.
So he's still
He will
sort of
be.
in the
because he has the
strength.
mindset. Like, if you can become Australia's strongest man at 24, there's a mindset that goes with that I will achieve this.
And the UFC will be begging. Like, imagine Ngannou loses one more fight and then you give him.
Right.
And then it's like two
Exactly.
crazy athletes.
And they think Ngannou hits hard. I think Alex will fucking...
So when is that old guy that holds the pads for him? I'm like, poor bloke.
He likes it. He enjoys
The
it.
old
Yeah,
guy?
Alex says he enjoys it. They
Man.
have a great relationship.
You would want to. Imagine connecting with one of those, like, all...
Man. So with Alex, I haven't had like a huge chunk of time working with him. It's been like a month. And when he came to me, he was fighting within 6 weeks. So I wasn't going to introduce anything too new to his routine because I wasn't too sure what I was working with, what his history was in terms of fighting training. And I didn't want to potentially do too much damage or quote unquote damage or injure this person out of a fight. So I was just keeping chunks of intense methods. I don't need to make Alex stronger, obviously. Like, he has a great base level of strength, which is like a strength coach's dream, because I'm like, oh, we can do so many other things
Yeah.
now. But for him, I always tell him, like, the most important thing for you, because he's like, I want to come in 5 days a week and train with you. I was like, let's start with 2 to 3, and maybe those 2 other sessions you can go and do some more technical work, because that's going to be the best return for you. You're still new to the sport. Spend more time learning the craft. If that answers the question.
Yeah, no, definitely does.
With Alex, I work again close with his physical therapist.
Yeah.
Because obviously with powerlifting being such a sagittal focus, the sport, like the plane of, it's just, squat, bench, dead. He did strongman as well, but it's just very pick it up, put it down.
Yeah.
Now he's entered this like rotational world. That's just, it's a very different movements happening left, right and center, different qualities that...
And just seeing, instead he has had one object that doesn't move in front of him, whereas now he can have multiple things coming at him at once.
Of course, it's a whole different complex. So we're developing those qualities alongside what he's already so good at.
Just a 300 kilo wood chop.
Yeah, it's not saying that I don't want to keep his strength. I want to keep that as much as I can, but I want to develop other things alongside it.
Yeah.
And after his next fight is done, we'll have a good time period to work on that as well.
Yeah.
But Alex is 25. The world's his oyster, man. Like, he's going to kill it as long as he keeps good people around him, and he's really good at doing that.
And I'd imagine with even just doing his boxing sessions, his jiu-jitsu sessions, he's gotten a lot fitter from just the powerlifting days.
Don't be fooled, man. His capacity is not poor at all. Yeah, we did an alactic type session this morning, which is something I do a lot leading up to a fight, and he looks good.
For your lactic stuff, what equipment are you favouring? Like low impact stuff, like rowers, Satan cycles, that sort of thing, or do you like the road running sprints?
People
stuff
criticise
like that?
the people that don't do the road running because they think you need to be doing that.
Yeah, again, like, pick your battles. I can't tell someone like George, you're gonna stop running. I've slowed it down from when we first started. He was running like 6 days a week.
Oh, hey.
I was like, when's the marathon? Like,
Whereas Alex, if he went for a 10k run, his joints would be
100%. George is 64, 5 kilos at the moment. Alex is 130 plus. Right?
He's getting there.
He's getting there, man. He's bringing it down. He's going to get it down. Obviously, then he can officially make the UFC because they have the heavyweight cap.
Which is 120?
125.
Okay, so it's
weight-in,
pretty much there.
right?
Yeah.
So he's not far off. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the running, in terms of alactic work, like I like sprinting. If an athlete likes to sprint, again, like they have good buy-in with sprinting. And if it's the right athlete, I'm not going to make Alex sprint outdoors. It's just silly.
Yeah, man, that's
I'll pick a low impact.
Maybe.
I'll pick like an erg machine, like a rower, a bike. Even though I have to hold the bike down when he's on it.
He could snap a rower.
He put a check out his story this morning. We were doing we're doing 6 to 8 second sprints with a long rest period. About a minute rest period, minute to 80-second rest period, and his heart rate was dropping to where I wanted to be at that time, and he was repeating. And every time he had to go, I had to run over and hold I had to fucking hold the bike down.
Was he on the Satan cycle?
He was on the assault bike. He was on the assault bike.
Yeah, assault bike. That's it.
And it was like a max effort for a short amount of time, so alactic work, right? And I reckon if I wasn't there, he would have just tipped. Yeah, he's just too much output for that time period. So we did that. Then we did rower. So we split the erg up, and then we ended up on some ground and pound. That's just, I guess, a more fight specific task that he can have max effort on, given that he's going to be fighting next week. So he had his last heavy or most intense lift this Monday. Today was his last alactic day. Tomorrow he's going to come in and we're going to do like an active recovery type session, which he really enjoys. And then next week, depending on how he feels, we might do like a priming type session Monday morning, first thing Monday morning. And then I'll just be with him throughout the week. He might come in and go through his regular warm-ups just to keep routine.
Yeah.
That's another thing you find. Like I was a couple of weeks ago, one of my amateur MMA boys fought, and we normally train Tuesday, Thursday. He had to weigh in on Thursday, and he's like, I'm like, look, you don't have to come in on Thursday if you don't want to. If you feel sluggish or if you just want to sleep, it's fine. I understand. He's like, no, like I just want to keep the routine. I just want to come in and let's just do something. So I'm like, okay, we'll do something. And for me, that's a good sign because it shows that they've bought in and they want to be there.
Yeah, and like I said, keeps routine, keeps their mind off what's the stress and that. Okay, just quickly for our listeners, because obviously if you're not in Australia, check out, it's at Godly Strong on Instagram to know Alex, who we were just talking about, because some of his lifts are crazy and his training's crazy.
Yeah, like he's a
400 kilo deadlift. He's
unbelievable lifter, lifter.
Bench
And he had a great coach. He was training with Sebastian Orob, who's a specialist at that training, at strongman powerlifting. So he was in good hands, and now he's making a transition from that sporting world to the fighting sporting world.
Such a difference in coaching personalities as well, because he's like one hell of a hype man. You seem very
for sure, man.
Do you try to get him jazzed up, or you do your own thing?
I don't need to. I don't yell at people too much. I have conversations before they start training with me, and those conversations shape how we're going to be doing things. I don't need to yell at Alex. You don't need to yell at most fighters. Fighters want to go. Most times you got to pull them back a little bit because they'll just go, because it's that mentality. I don't need to yell at Alex. It's what do I need to do? Okay, Ty's the same. Comes in. You tell me what I need to do. I'll get it done. Tyson's the same. What are we doing today? Yep, cool. George, same. Most fighters are the same. Like,
well, they're not going to be. In a sport like that, if you're half-assed in it, you're going to get knocked out pretty quick.
You can't play combat.
Yeah,
you can't just go up on the weekend and play. You get fucking bashed.
Like, you can sort of hide on the wing in league or the second row or whatever, any sport, and you might get hurt, but you get knocked out.
Can't play fighting, man. Yeah. And I'm not saying this because it's my bias. I think it's the hardest sport in the world. Combat in general. Like, the stresses are different. Like, you lose a soccer match, you know, there's a scoreboard, you got conceded against, you lose fighting, you're tapping out in front of the world, in front of your family, or you get knocked the fuck out in front of the world, in front of the family. And with social media, fighters get butchered now.
Oh, like, so butchered.
Conor must be copping it.
Nah, Dylan Dennis is really taking the heat off Conor. Go read his Instagram comments. Fuck, right? Man. Like,
did you see his Jesus post that he took down?
Yeah.
Oh, really? No, I didn't.
Standing on the wing of Conor's private jet.
Oh, I did see that.
Hated Jesus too.
Yeah. He's
hated Jesus. I saw that.
Heaps of hate, man. Heaps of hate.
So I think the risk is the highest in combat sports.
Yeah. And the reward, not the greatest, unless you're Conor McGregor and those top guys.
Yeah.
I suppose winning, like imposing your will on another guy, well, you've said it yourself before we started the podcast, is a great feeling. Yeah. A feeling I'm not worried about.
It's a culture, man. That's what it is.
True.
You know, it's a culture. Combat sports is a culture. And that's why I feel like if you're going to work with fighters, it helps to understand that culture. Because there's a certain thing, like, I'm not going to sit here and say I understand AFL culture. I've never sat through a full AFL game in my life. You know, I apologize to my listeners, or to the listeners. I apologize, but so I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, I can walk into a weight session with a bunch of AFL players and just get along with them. I'll get along with them, but not along with the culture of the sport. Yeah, you put me in a room with a bunch of fighters, and we're going to mesh straight away.
Are you a league fan?
Yes, I used to be more so than I am now.
So just classier fans, exactly the same fans, a bit classier, a bit more colour, a bit more. They love scarves and fancy alcohol. That's AFL fans.
That's pretty well.
You know, one of the boys I trained got his hands on a bottle of Proper 12, and he's going to bring it to training tomorrow.
Oh yeah, where can you get your hands on it?
It's sold out in the world.
I could
globally, it's sold out. He's killing it.
Money.
He's killing it. Yeah.
Have you seen back to me? Because obviously he went to promote in front of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And you can't throw a spiral for shit.
No, man.
He said he didn't want to tear the blazer.
Yeah, he said that, but then Dak Prescott, the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and someone photoshopped Khabib's head on there, and he's just throwing the perfect spiral pass. It's just the best. Like you said, the internet just bash it. Right? But as a fan though, it's all time. Like, I live for those memes post fights.
And I mean, like, to cap up the whole thing of like approaching fighters, it's a professional sport. They're professional athletes, whether they're semi-professional or at the UFC. They're athletes nonetheless, and regardless of social media's like take on fighters it being like a barbaric sport, and it's just people like punching each other and knocking each other out and tapping each other out. There's an art to it, right? Israel Adesanya had a post where it showed him analyzing like angles, and he said, what you might see as two people punching each other, I see as artwork because there's art to what I'm doing, and I agree completely. You try and jump in a boxing ring and then go and watch a Lomachenko fight and go, how the hell does that man do that?
You understand.
Right? How
It's
does
annoying when people trash it. It's just like, grow the fuck up.
Well,
Like, I
because
feel like
they've
people
never
think they're doing their
participated.
classy route.
They've never participated in it, which makes
Of course,
it
like
so much.
don't get me
so much
wrong.
more
There's an
understanding.
element of it being what it is.
Intense.
It's a fight,
Very
right?
primal.
But it's a primal thing. But nonetheless, there's a lot of
Oh, so much
technical,
skill.
tactical. Like,
It's
Yeah.
the same people that turn their nose up at a fight, they'll go watch like gorillas fucking or eating their own shit, and they're like, "Oh, it's so beautiful, the nature."
Yeah.
It's like, come on, like, be more consistent.
Exactly. Yeah, and but nonetheless, man, it's becoming a business, right? And people want to see people fighting or to what they consider fighting.
Yeah.
You see people like watching Conor and Khabib fight and go, oh, it's fucking shit. Like they spent most time hugging on the floor, and you're like, what Khabib was doing was
Such an
They have
intense.
no idea.
yeah, like what Khabib was doing was just beautiful.
Yeah.
like it's like a masterpiece the way he can control people on the floor.
See, I was the only Khabib fan where Angus and I were.
I'm not.
No, I love-
I'm just more pro.
Yeah, and I was the opposite. I don't hate Conor, I was loving it, because I picked the round
Yeah.
and Khabib,
Yeah.
and for it to go over.
I
to
don't
another round.
gamble, I don't bet. So I told my best friend, I'm
But
like,
you
I
have
might put money.
emotional
I might put
investment.
money on Lewis to win, and up to the third round, my best friend's like, you fucked me,
And then you
I'm
got it
like,
done.
oh, I'm sorry, and then boom, I was like, I got it.
But you're texting me to us because Ladbrokes one of our
Yeah,
sponsors, so
okay.
we always chuck
All
some
right,
tips
done,
in. So maybe
done.
for obviously ties and
Ty and Tyson,
Tyson's
man.
card day, you'll be a bit biased.
Yeah, I think. Do I give my predictions?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think Tyson's going to knock Shogun out. I think Ty is either going to knock him out in the second or third round, or he'll win on the decision.
Yeah. Well, Tyson should have won against Oven St. Preux.
Tyson's had a couple of fights where he's lost the fight for himself. No one's beat him.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Man, Tyson's a
So
unique case
talented.
because he hasn't had that many fights. Most of his fights
Yeah,
have
it's
been in the
crazy.
UFC.
Yeah.
With
That's what
OSP,
I-
he's like
Back
a
to what I was
huge
saying
opponent.
before, he hasn't had an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Really. You
Yeah.
know? He's figuring it out at the moment in the UFC. It's not what you want to be figuring things out.
Yeah, and it's still he's going well because
He's-
OSP. Who did he
OSP
fight
went the
on that
distance
card?
with John Jones.
OSP won this.
with a
OSP
broken
is a
arm.
veteran in the sport. He just lost to Reyes, and that was an awesome
Yeah,
fight.
that was a good
Reyes
fight.
looked awesome.
Yes, yeah, he got him towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reyes looked awesome, had all the right answers for OSP.
Knocked him
and-
down on the bell. That
Yes,
was-
exactly.
yeah,
That's the one. Third round,
Yeah,
right before
yeah,
the bell.
yeah,
Tyson OSP. Tyson ended up in the worst position with OSP.
Correct,
You
but
don't
he had him though.
yeah, you don't want OSP on top of you. Tyson, tripped. OSP landed on top of him. It is what it is. That's fighting, man. Fighting, it's a game of split seconds. Whether it's
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, whether it's boxing, whether it's MMA, it takes a split second to change everything. And I guess Derek Lewis is the best
Got to be
example of that.
opportunistic, I think. Like Lewis was.
100%, man. Like
OSP
that's all it
was.
takes. It takes 1 second to change everything.
Or like Volkov, know you've won it and run.
Yeah.
For then the rest of the 10 seconds.
Right.
He first fought such smart fights as well. Like when he fought Verdun,
I know.
he fought the most intelligent fight,
I know.
and then he just loses to Lewis.
I know.
Lewis is great. I love Lewis. How much can Lewis increase his gas tank in 30
bro.
days?
He said he didn't even want the
You know what's
title
funny?
fight, he's
Lewis
got
finishes
it.
the fight and goes, "What title fight, man? I
Yeah,
need to work
yeah,
on my motherfucking cardio."
Yeah.
And then
He
a week
gets
later,
it.
he's announced with title
Yeah.
fight. Obviously, you take that opportunity when you
Oh,
get it.
you got it. The
I
money.
think I think DC is going to mold him.
I think so.
I think
Just to
DC
keep
will take him
fresh.
down and keep him down.
Yeah, keep him ready for Brock.
But if Lewis does win, oh man, that's going to be an
It's
entertainment.
really awesome.
Then he fights John Jones. John Jones beats the shit out of him,
Yeah.
and then.
Well, John Jones is fighting Gustafsson.
I know, and I love Gustafsson.
So
Fuck,
ready.
I love him.
No, Gustafson's just an entitled prick. You
No,
see how much
no,
he
no.
wants?
You know what,
See,
man?
I love his
you know what?
upbringing.
This is going to be a hard fight.
I hope so.
It wasn't a breeze for him the first time.
Yeah, no.
And I think this time around, it's not going to be a breeze either.
Well, have you read Gustafsson's book?
No.
It's a great book. I read it 2 years ago. It's just called The Mall or something. And he
Okay.
speaks about how he grew up and he was sort of 13. He was a bit of a street thug and he was beating up men. And then he's like, oh, maybe there's something here. He gets in the boxing gym, starts beating people up, blah, blah, blah. But he goes and describes his fight because he had a close loss to DC. He got knocked out by Johnson.
Yeah.
And then obviously him and John Jones went the distance and it could have gone either way.
Exactly right.
And then he said John
Definitely.
Jones spoke to him and he's like, mate, I had a headache for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, they both beat the shit out
That
of
was
each
one of the
other.
best fights of the year. Like,
I think it's one of the great, most entertaining
light
fights.
heavyweight fights of all time.
Yeah,
Definitely.
because
Yeah.
as a stupid fan who doesn't really know the actual science and art of it, you want to see maximum brain damage, and that's what you got. You want to see two guys really
They took
going
years
it out.
off each other's lives.
the Rory McDonald and Lawler fight.
Yeah. See, I love all
Can
that
we get a
stuff.
prediction on Will Jones? One, Will Jones be as good as he was, and two, Will Jones piss hot again. What's the call?
I don't know what's happened with all that, man. I guess, like, with all the USADA and
He
all.
got 30 months taken off his
I
suspension.
know, like,
I love dodginess.
That's
so
the.
dodgy.
It's a business.
Yeah, exactly. They've got to make
Business, right?
money.
You know, how's Lesnar fighting right now? How does that work?
Yeah.
How does Lesnar come back in and supposedly get a title shot when you got a guy like Curtis Blades?
Yes.
You know,
The hectic thing about Lesnar is for that UFC 200 card, they were like, we know you're on it, just piss clean on the day of the fight.
Yeah.
And he couldn't even do that.
here's the little cylinder.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up, man.
Fill it
And
with
he
someone
just
else's
melted
piss.
a hole in the cup with his piss. just straight fluoro green.
I bet they weren't even in the room with him.
But-
They're just like, take
but-
your mate in. Who's
Just
playing.
get some fluid into this cup.
Yeah.
Do something, right?
Fill it up with water.
But hey, man, prior to McGregor, Lesnar was the UFC's biggest
Correct.
So,
And they do need the money.
right.
And that's why I think guys like Alex will get in, because it's a great story. Show him powerlifting, show him doing the strongman. Hasn't been doing it for that long. Show his highlight reel of
100%.
knockouts.
Did you see
Off you
the
go.
photo he posted the other day of him playing rugby as a young kid?
Alex, yes,
Like,
big. He was in that picture.
It's wild.
He was huge.
He said we used to play against a guy. So where we grew up, Angus, I was all little surfy kids in our team. We had no big Maori guys,
Yeah.
no big Greek guys, no big nothing. All skinny white kids. So we were okay. And whenever we play a team from further south, we're in the under 14s. They had this one kid. He was 120 kilos. This big Islander kid, and it took the whole team to bring him down.
He's the
So
kid.
that's what
He's
I'm
the kid that
imagining.
didn't have the best game IQ, but could get the ball and just walk. run direct.
How old was he?
He looks like an ogre.
Take the back of that six. Oh, so that was him when he was.
Look at the poor kid trying to tackle him.
That's so funny, dude.
He came in this morning with a shirt that says it said the Silverback, and I'm like, I like that shirt. You gotta keep that
Is
shirt.
that his fight name?
No.
Still the
No.
god.
Yeah.
The
You know
god.
what's funny? Like when I ordered shirts, I'm like, the lady was like, "What do you want to get?" I'm like, "I'll get a shirt size of, I guess, small to everything."
Yeah.
She goes, "What would you need, like up to a 4XL or like a 3XL?" I'm like, "I'll stop at 3XL." Like, who the fuck's gonna be a 3XL?
Yeah.
And then Alex came on board, and he's like, "Can I get a 3XL?" I'm like,
I've
like,
got
"Yeah,
one."
I got two. I gave the other one to Ty.
Oh, he's tied 3XL.
That was a 3XL.
See, I've never met him in person.
Yeah.
So we've obviously met Tyson.
Yeah.
And have felt that pain. He put me in, an armbar?
It was like a triangle.
Did he put you in a triangle?
Yeah, I was like, because I
Armbar?
used to dress up as this sort of bogan character that heckles people online.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you put me in some position? Turns out I've been doing armbars wrong on my mates my whole life. And
What did you expect?
no, it felt great.
Frame wise,
Yeah.
Bam Bam and the God kind of about the same size.
Similar frame size. Alex is a little bit taller, but Ty's a big guy, man. Ty's a big guy, and he's very athletic for his size. He's
The
quick.
flying knee in his
Yeah.
debut.
Not-
that was
not-
something special.
Nothing unexpected from Ty, man. Like, he is an athlete.
Yeah.
Don't mistake for what you see on social media as what he is like when he's training. We do drills, and I'm like, how is this guy this heavy and moving like that?
You just got that
But
motor.
man, you know, he was playing at the Roosters, so he's got
exactly.
that athletic.
Well, you see that a lot in the rugby league players, like who have a lot of Aboriginal descent. Like, look at
100%.
GI.
Yeah.
GI could be good if you could take him back to his
Latrell, sorry.
teenage
Start again.
years. Yeah.
Start again.
Yeah.
Go back and start again.
Look at Latrell.
Yeah.
Like, you look at him and you're like, he's obviously tall, he's a solid guy, but no, not overly jacked. And
Yeah.
he manhandles, and he's still essentially, he's 21, I think. He's a kid compared to those guys.
Even
And he
some NFL
manhandles.
defensive NFL players, they're
Yeah.
so big, and then you see the way they cut, and you're like,
It's crazy.
what?
Yeah.
I can't do that.
And then
Watching GI in Origin just lay out props. That's just
it's
wild.
crazy, yeah. And it's just something that Angus and I genetically
Don't have. But I think the NRL, much like you see a lot of those guys that didn't quite make the cut or they had a brief stint in the NFL doing really well in the UFC, I think rugby league especially could be a bit of a pull for that. I think Alex Volkanovski, he was an ex-rugby boy as well, right?
Yeah, I think
Volkanovski's doing
really
so
good.
well.
So good, so
He's got
underrated.
Chad Mendes, you know.
What?
Oh, yes.
Can you tell him to come on the show? He didn't get back to my Instagram DM.
Yeah.
We're from the Gong.
Come on, Alex.
Yeah,
We're all
he
from
trains
the
down
Gong.
there.
Yeah.
Dude, Volkanovski's the nicest guy.
Yeah, he seems
The
great.
nicest guy.
And I have
He's
met
like a
him
mini
once
Khabib.
before.
He likes hunting too. I want to go hunting with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'll
Does he hunt with
pass
his
on
bare
that.
hands? I imagine.
Yeah. Getting into Lake Illawarra and just like spearfishing
Put a
off
deer in
the
a
pier.
headlock.
But he's improved so much, man. Like, I love watching him fight now. He's got
Yeah.
Chad Mendes. I
He's
think he's
doing
going to
real.
beat Chad Mendes too.
That'd be a great
I think
fight.
he's
Chad
a
Mendes
better-
without tested.
I think
Yeah,
he's
right
a
on.
better version of Chad Mendes.
And what weight is he? 155?
Yeah.
Fuck,
No,
that's a stack.
145.
145.
Okay, yeah. And he used to be 90 something kilos.
He was
when
big.
playing
He
league.
puts up photos sometimes.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
he does. He
I
loves
think
to
he was
throw that.
playing at 90 kilos. Or something like
Playing
that.
at 90?
Yeah,
was
it's
he?
like an
Okay.
18
I don't know, but yeah, I know he was a lot bigger.
It's
He just
crazy.
hasn't had an opponent like worthy yet. Like no one's really pushed him that I've seen.
This is gonna be like a big,
We'll find out.
fight someone at the top rank.
a big step.
Exactly.
I just want to go through some quick fire questions now before we get into our scripted questions. And the first one is, what is the most common mistake you see? I put this in quotation marks. Strength coaches for fighters doing wrong.
The most common mistake.
Yeah. Sorry, I said mistake and doing wrong. The
That's
most
a-
common mistake you see strength coaches for fighters doing.
I see a lot of dumb shit. I think the biggest one is people trying to make things fancy, and not having a structure, and understanding that our body responds to things like. Our body has things that it responds to, whether or not you're an NFL player or a fighter, and you have to understand those concepts, those like physiological concepts, things like intensity, duration, loads, the stress on the body, like our adaptation processes, and you have to time accordingly depending on the athlete and the sport you're dealing with. I see people, I guess, not just because of social media, but maybe because of a lack of understanding of the sport, we just need to make shit look good or look cool for social media or to get buy-in. Whereas a lot of times the success is in the more simple things done very well.
Good answer.
That was very concise.
And then I completely forgot the next one. Oh, fuck, that was it. Rate or hate Ido Portal methodology of training for fighters.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
I don't think he's reinvented.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, diplomatic.
Yeah.
It's a tool. I don't think he's doing anything new. It's like movement culture, and I think there's a place for it, like the whole play and freedom of movement. I think there's a place for it. I see things as tool belts, and we all have tools. Different tools fit the job at different times. He's got a tool. He's branded himself very well. Good on him. Definitely not hate or oh my god, this is it. Like
Yeah.
I think anytime you have a coach or a practitioner that says this is it, I've got it. This is the fucking system that's going to change your life. It's a quick time to just go. I'm just going to get another opinion because probably not the best thing.
They're going all in.
Right? It's not how it works. Like, there's not one size fits all, and there's not one method is the best.
Do you think that improved anything in Connor's game after that fight? Because obviously, look, with or without him,
Connor
still
says
lost.
that he felt that he moved better.
And that's all that matters.
If it's fucking placebo, ride that wave till Connor goes, okay, I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like
true.
guys that go, ice baths that change your life.
Yeah.
I'm like, do they make you feel good? They're like, I fucking feel like a god. I'm like, someone gave me an ice bath. Like, if he likes it so much, and it's like static stretching, it's like foam rolling, they're all controversial.
Yeah.
But if the person likes it and they're a high level athlete,
That's all
and you're
that
getting
matters.
buy-in, fine, just do it for a bit. Like, it's not going to kill them. Just
Yeah.
understand where it fits in and apply it at the right time.
That's a very good answer. Who is a fighter you'd love to have on your roster? You'd love to work with?
A fighter that I
Tony
would...
Ferguson needs help.
A lot of them
in
need
Australia
help.
or...
No, anywhere. Just current.
A current-
Any sport, anything.
A current fighter that I would... Any sport, man. You say any sport?
No, any of the fighting sports.
Any of the fighting sports. that I would-
any sport and any fighting sport.
Any sport that I would like to work with. I love Jordan Burroughs, wrestler, Olympic gold medalist.
that's a good one.
I love watching him just float. Like, his wrestling is beautiful. I'd love to just train him.
Yeah.
And just to see what he's like. Someone that I would personally, as a combat athlete, definitely, like, let's say an MMA fighter that I would love to work with. That's tricky, man. Who are some people that I would love to work with? Fuck, that's a hard question, man. Why would you do that?
Like it doesn't have to.
I would
be
love to
even-
work with Khabib.
Yeah, it'd have to be someone like that.
I would love to work with Khabib.
Yeah, and your
I love
business
his
would
work
go.
ethic. Yeah, I would love to work with Khabib because I know he'd have the mentality, he'd have the work
Yeah.
set. He's humble, he's a champion, he's a people's champion. his morals are his family, his religion, and his culture, and I love that. I would love to work with Khabib.
Would you go to Russia for it?
I would fucking drive to Russia.
Take all the boys over there with
100%. 100%.
That is a
I'm
good
all
answer.
in, man. When I work with someone, all the guys that I work with know it. I'm all in, man. If you show effort, if you show character, if you show commitment, and you buy into our culture, then I'm in.
You're in for it.
When's the UFC Performance Institute going to give you the call and be like, come over?
You know,
Surely
like,
you'll be there checking it out soon.
I was there this year.
Oh, you've been there
Yeah,
already?
I was there
Okay.
this year. I hung out with Duncan French, who's been like, I guess, not as influential on me as my other mentors, because I was only there for about a week and a half. But we spent some time together. He was really nice, looked after me well while I was there. The institute's amazing. I met the other coaches, Carl and Matt. They're all really nice. I met the dietitian on site, Clint, like great staff. Heather, the physical therapist, like awesome people. They have like plans for their own growth as the UFC grows. Who knows what's possible down the line, man. At the moment, I'm extremely happy where I am and who I'm working with. Things are going great. The team is growing, like what I say, the Ethos Combat team, which is like my team, not my skills team, just my combat athlete team. I want to keep growing, and my why, like I said earlier, is I just want to be the person that I didn't have, and my goal is to just drive the combat sports industry forward, the performance side of the combat industry forward. I'm not the only one doing it. There are many other coaches doing it. I just want to go along with that.
Where do you see the state of the sport right now in terms of the professionalism and the way athletes are trained? Like, do you reckon, is it a 50-50 mix, whether their top athletes coach is a lunatic or not, or do you think it is slowly they're getting weeded out?
You mean like their strength and conditioning coaches?
Yes,
yeah, 100%, man. Especially with like the higher level guys. Unfortunately, like I said, because fighters get to choose who their team are, especially the strength and conditioning team, they can choose who they want. So, I love you, Tony, but Tony Ferguson, he's doing some shit that probably isn't what I or science considers sound practice, but it seems to be working for him. Again, like, how impactful can you be? I think he could do things better. It's like people saying road running must fucking work, like Muhammad Ali did it all the time. You're like, imagine Muhammad Ali had access to what we have access to now.
Yeah.
What was the potential or what the capacity for his growth at the time? That's what I always tell people. I'm like, and okay, Muhammad Ali was at that time. Why can't you do things better? Why do you have to like live in someone else's like processes?
Fighters seem to have a lot of nostalgia.
100%.
Whereas all the other sports, like, well, I need help from what's gonna be
again,
current.
but it's because it starts from from top down. It's like a top down. It's a hierarchy. The coach, you join a team, you sign a contract, you show up to training with your training partners. You train with your training partners. It's not fucking up to you whether or not you show up to practice. You show up to practice or you don't get play. You get sidelined. That's not the case with fighters. There are some places that are doing that. There's a gym in, I think it's Fort Lauderdale. I can't remember the name of it. They have a good team growing, and that's their mantra now. Like, whether you're fighting or preparing for a fight or not, you must show up to every practice or you don't fight. And that's just the gym. That's how
makes
they're working.
that team environment
Yeah,
as well.
I fucking love it. Like, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You should show up to training whether you're fighting or not. Because your training partners need you. Like, they're fighting, they need you.
Yeah.
Because when you need them, they're going to be there for you, hopefully. So you should be there for them as well.
No, definitely. Even like as a kid growing up swimming, I had our squad, and if a few of the boys were away racing, it just wasn't the same. There wasn't the same energy in the gym.
100%,
Just having everyone there supporting each other. Next question before we get into our scripted questions. You've mentioned mentors. Who are sort of the guys that you've really looked up to? I guess give us 3 or 4.
Yeah, okay. When I started out, like, while I was studying my sports science degree, I liked people like Eric Cressy, Tony Gentilcore. Like, I used to read their stuff every week. I used to highlight stuff and go through it. Lauren Landau has been my biggest mentor by far. I see him like a dad and / friend / mentor. We speak like almost every week. I've spent time with him, his family. I've been over his facility. I've met all his coaches. Like, they're like family to me. I took him out in the Gold Coast when he was out here last year at the ACA conference. He's like, I want to put a koala on my back. I'm like, we're gonna fucking make it happen. So I drove him down to Reptile Park and put a koala across his chest.
And then he went back to his wife with chlamydia.
He did. I love it. So yeah, I guess face-to-face mentors. Lauren Landau is definitely my biggest mentor. I'm fortunate enough to meet all those people as well.
Yeah.
I wrote an article on Tony Gentilcore's page this year. So he was open to having that on. I met Eric Cressy earlier this year while I was in Denver at the Power Conference. Obviously, I've hung out with Lauren a lot. So those people have, whether directly or indirectly, shaped me a lot. But yeah, you guys should get Lauren on your podcast.
Mate, we were speaking about before he came on. We've been back and forth a bit in the Instagram DMs, but hopefully when he sees you share it, that'll push him over and be like, coming on and talk shit with
I'll
the
ask
boys.
him. I'll tell him.
Tell him, please.
I'll tell him.
Him and Ty. That's and Alex. Just tell him to check his DMs. Go, hey, look out for Hard Performance.
No, I'll chat to all of them. But
we appreciate that. Hey, that'll get you up in there and guest of the year.
Yeah,
you could
guest
actually,
of the year.
I feel like we got Steph Cohen next month. She'd be a pretty solid run of it. You could actually be a threat to. So we've had
Please though, like Steph Cohen doesn't need the guest of the year title. Neither do you. I'm not saying.
Hey, man.
Come on, man.
Everyone wants it. Like there's a slight one. Like the last year's guy that won the first one was Nick Jenkins, Rugby Sevens.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a pretty good steps to following.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, 100%. All right, scripted questions. Let's get into it.
Top 5 favorite athletes of all time.
I made a list.
Good.
You got it. You're the most. You've bought a laptop. We've had notepads before. People have their phones, but you've got your laptop here.
Man, I'm a note person. Like, I always take fucking notes. Like, when I'm at work every day, I got a small notebook and I just write shit down. I'm like, that athlete wasn't doing that optimally, or this didn't look right.
Just take notes.
And I'll take notes and then I follow it up. So, always have a notebook. All the coaches listening, always have a notebook, take notes.
I like that. That's actually a good bit of advice that Angus fucking is the paper Nazi over here. He's
not just coaches, athletes. Like jiu-jitsu athletes are notorious.
100%.
Well, not notorious. They're known for like having their book and they take notes on like positions, transitions, intermediate positions, what to do, what not to do, what works, their game plan.
Just something.
Do the same as a coach.
Yeah.
There
you go, notepad. Angus?
I'm pro writing shit down. I just think electronic is the way to go.
You just had a moment. You just had a moment.
Why don't you have like your phone?
Angus films every single one of his lifts, just like I film every single one of my jumps at them.
I love it. Yeah,
I
see you smashing your fucking snatches. It looks awesome.
Yeah, Angus does smash his snatches. Sorry, 5 favorite athletes.
Smashing the snatches. We mean the Olympic lift guys. Top 5 athletes. So I wrote. Not in order. Emmanuel Augustus. Do you guys know Emmanuel Augustus?
No, but educate us.
Yeah. So this is always the fun part.
He was a professional boxer. He had the light welterweight title in 2004. He was known. His fight name was the Drunken Master. So you gotta look him up.
Like that guy from not Tekken. Maybe it was Tekken.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. He just had a very weird stance, and his angles were weird. He literally looked like he was drunk when he was fighting, but it was very effective and it worked for him. I just love watching him fight. He lost to Mayweather as well, and Mayweather quoted that was one of his hardest fights as well. I think they fought in 202.
Is it sort of like a Tyson Fury style where you just don't know where he's
going? Nah, man, you gotta watch Augustus.
Okay,
all the boxing fans listening out, like, you guys know Augustus, and you know why he was called the Drunken Master. I love Emmanuel Augustus. Second, Kobe Bryant. I love him, like the Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
Tyson recently showed me a podcast of what kind of Kobe's doing now after basketball.
Fuck, what is he doing?
It was on, I think it's the Derek Lowe's podcast. Lewis House, Lewis House podcast. And it's called Mamba Mentality. And I shared that. I'm like, everyone, you need to listen to this podcast. It's awesome.
Yeah, write that down.
It's called Mamba Mentality, and he talks about like his mindset as an athlete. What kind of
crazy.
I guess the tipping point for him as an athlete is when he realized that failure was an opportunity to succeed. And he said, I loved when I lost, and I loved when I did something wrong because I saw that as an opportunity to get better.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, it's beautiful. Like, it's awesome. That's how you should be.
And he took every opportunity to fail. Like,
how
his first season in the NBA, he wanted to take all the shots and miss game winner after game winner.
But there's I'm not going to talk about the podcast too much, but he just talks about awesome things. Like, he went from being 11 years old and got not 1 point in that season to being the national, he was a national ranked #1 athlete in basketball by the age of 14 or something.
Yeah.
So how do you make that transition from 11 to 14 being #1 to the best?
Yeah, his mindset was crazy. Yeah.
And genetics.
He grew 3 foot.
Genetics.
Yeah.
But Kobe Bryant definitely because of what he did as a basketball athlete and then what he's doing outside of it.
Yeah.
He's got a new podcast now. It's
he has a podcast?
It's a podcast designed for children, and that's why it's awesome. He teaches he hired staff. They do animated. It's like a voice movie, it's like a song in podcast format to teach history to children.
I'm sure
that's pretty cool.
And it's a short podcast that parents listen to on their car rides with kids to teach them history in a fun way. It's
That's
like a
smart.
Disney voiceover.
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah, that's smart.
Muhammad Ali, I guess that's a cliche in a way as me being a combat fan. Not just because of what he did as an athlete, which was amazing at the time, his level of confidence, which I guess is what Connor's awesome for as well, but because he was an activist, like he wasn't just an athlete, he was a figure. You know, he doesn't go down as a lot of people who don't like sports like him because of what he did, not as an athlete, but as a person. Cristiano Ronaldo, I got to see him play as well.
Oh, wow.
World Cup 2014, Brazil.
Nice.
Watched him
Fuck, that would've
play.
been good.
I saw Messi that year as well. It was awesome.
Yeah. Although Messi didn't play that well then.
He did not play that well.
Poor Messi.
I think Ronaldo fucking is way better than Messi.
Yeah, just
He's
purely for his
overtaken
World Cup.
in Ballon d'Ors,
I
right?
speak Spanish,
Yeah.
so disculpa to all my
Are you
Argentinian
Spanish?
friends. No, I'm Kurdish, but I spent 6 months in South America, so I speak
Ah.
Spanish fluently.
There you go.
Yeah. I like Ronaldo, I guess the main thing, because of his adaptability. Being able to be the best in multiple environments.
Yes.
He's a chameleon.
Different styles of
It's
football
also
as well.
interesting watching his old team eat shit without him.
Exactly.
And then, like,
That-
Juventus
that's what I mean.
Really well.
He's like, if
Yeah.
you look at, we're in a gaming room right now, he's the carry.
Yeah, definitely.
He carries that team. They're all fucking supports, and
Yeah.
without the carry, they're no one.
Whereas
You
Neymar's
do a
gone to
bit of esports?
PSG.
Huh?
You were to a bit
Yeah,
of
we've
esports?
spoken.
Yeah, I used to play Warcraft.
Oh, yeah.
Dota, man. I was good at it as well.
Yeah,
You have
did
to
ever
come
play
back
the
and bring
hard
all
Unfortunately,
boys.
I was a support guy. Yeah,
You have to come back with all
I used
the
to
boys
run up
and
the
play.
carry's asshole and give him like healing
Supplies.
pots and
But
things
this is
like that.
like your role in real life. Like, you need the support.
Yeah, man. I'm the mechanic.
There you go. People bag gaming.
The
It has
gaming
its
is
good
fucking
qualities.
awesome.
It has its
You
good
know what?
qualities.
Like Lachlan Wilmot.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
put
yeah.
up a story a long time ago, and I read it, and I was like, it's so true. He said, if your athletes are all playing Fortnite, you
Yeah,
best know a little
absolutely.
bit about Fortnite.
Yeah,
Like, and it's true. Like, you got to know the context of your
Yeah.
athletes.
for sure.
So my guys came in and like, oh, have you played the new Spider-Man game? I'm like, yeah, I fucking bought it as well. Have I played 8 hours that week? Probably not. Like, I'm
Yeah.
still 20% into the game. But again, it's relatability.
Yeah,
The biggest thing, I'm still very young in this industry, and I always call myself a sperm in the industry. Is
That can be your coaching nickname.
the sperm.
But in the corner, the sperm.
I get enough shit as it is from my surname. I keep, the more I learn is that the relationships you can create with your athletes are the most important things.
Yeah.
The principles, the science, you can get to that, but if they don't believe what you believe, like for them the picture, then it's never going to work.
Yeah.
Last athlete, GSP.
GSP.
Joe St. Pierre. I always wanted to meet Joe St. Pierre. I haven't met Joe St. Pierre. I will meet Joe St.
Yeah,
Pierre.
you will for sure. You will for sure.
Honestly, like, and
Can I just tell you why? Why Joe
yeah,
St.
yeah,
Pierre?
tell.
Because he became the best at something that you need to be born into as a kid. Like, to do what he did as a grappler, not being a pure grappler, like he had a Kyokushin karate background, and then he just mauled people. He mauled Olympic level wrestlers at wrestling. That doesn't happen. It's like someone going into the cage and just fucking Khabib up on the ground. You'd be like, oh my god, what's going on? GSP did that. Like, he dominated Matt Hughes. He dominated Matt Serra, like high level grapplers, and that's just amazing. Like, it hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
It was
He is
awesome.
the
Like,
best.
his book, like, he has somewhat of an interesting life, but he's actually such a robot that it's so boring to read because he's just so disciplined. Like,
What's his
Did you
French?
click that over
What's
again?
his
I did click it out.
What's his French accent like? Like,
He's
I was not impressed by
yeah,
the
I prepare,
performance.
he's like, I prepare for it all.
It's a bit higher than that though.
Yeah.
Do
Do you reckon you should? Have you heard about people want? So, because you know how they're making the 165
Yeah,
division, and
yeah.
then I think the plan is to make welterweight.
If they make
175.
165, do you know who would be the champion of that division? I reckon Neil Magny would be the champion of that division.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It could be interesting. I think it's too many if they bring that in. I don't want them to
What?
bring it in.
More belts.
More
Nah,
belts.
The belts.
Fuck the belt. There's enough.
belts. No,
Nah, I
more
agree
belts.
with Angus. I don't think.
You want more?
I don't think there. No, I disagree with Angus. Sorry.
Damn.
There shouldn't be a new division.
Yeah.
I think there's enough
I'm
like
with ya.
there's enough complexity as it is.
Yeah.
And athletes, need to. If they make the division, it just makes a shit show for weight cuts even more.
Yes,
Like,
correct.
people
correct.
coming up and down. Oh, I'll be the linear champion. I'll be the 165 and the 185
Yeah,
champion.
and you have guys who are
Too many
100 kilos
champ
cutting
Too many
to that.
champs, right?
Yeah.
Like this whole champ shit. Fuck, man. Like,
That's
it's
too
just-
much.
Connor really started a fad. Like,
Connor
first
started
everyone
a lot.
wearing
Connor
suit.
started a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next question: who is a rap artist you would have rap about you, and what would they say?
A rap artist rap about me. Fuck. Kendrick.
Kendrick. We've already mentioned once. I forget who it was though.
Kendrick. Don't know about the other guy. Because Kendrick tells stories well, and he talks about political topics well. My background is Kurdish, and my history is very complex.
Yeah, the genocide.
Genocide with Saddam Hussein and us not being a republic and being the world's largest minority. I feel like Kendrick would tell that story very well.
The world's largest minority.
Interesting. I like that. Nothing about fighting even.
Yeah.
I like
Well,
that.
there was a bit of fighting going on.
Oh yeah, of course. Like, there's a lot of fighting.
There's a lot of fighting.
It's just flashback to like they do those horrible montages.
Oh.
It's like I say no fighting, just I meant like MMA
And then
style fighting.
I'm surprised you even know about the genocide, to be honest.
Mate, I believe it.
That's
I'm
like the one bit of history he knows.
I tell people I'm Kurdish, and I get it every day. Even my girlfriend, when I first met her, I was like, I'm Kurdish. She goes, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, you have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, sorry, man. Like, what is that? What is that? I'm like, what is that?
Look, I don't know the specifics of it, but I've heard of it for sure.
There's a great YouTube video by I think it's called Fight Mediocrity or something on YouTube. It's called Who Are the Kurds? Look into it.
There you go. That's a good place.
2 minutes and you know history.
Is Diran? No, he's Turkish. Yeah. Okay.
But you can be Kurdish from Turkey
I
because
think
we were
he-
exiled to.
Look, he's
there's
coming on next
approximately
month,
20 million Kurds in Turkey.
But some of them just either don't know.
So there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it is the world's largest minority. I'm not saying that
By
because
a
of some
long
sort of
stretch,
like
yeah.
patriotic fucking.
But a lot of people probably wouldn't even know.
100%.
got the numbers. Give
And
me
the thing is as
fucking
well, like, because of at the time when the Kurds were exiled to Turkey, you weren't allowed to tell people you were Kurdish. That's where language has been lost in certain areas and cultures and
And you
customs.
can speak.
My first language is Kurdish. I came here when I was 5.
Wow.
I speak obviously
Oh,
English.
so you were born there.
I was born in Iraq, north of Iraq. Slemani was where I was born. We came here because my parents had to flee Saddam Hussein, essentially.
Fuck, man, that's a whole other podcast.
yeah.
See, I like all that sort of stuff, like history. Although it's horrible, but it's interesting.
It's very interesting, man, and like that's given me seeing what my parents had to do. Like my mum she had her own fashion label over there in Syria. My dad was a civil engineer. Came here, yeah, awesome. Like my granddad was a sergeant of the army as well. When they came here, my mum started making kebabs, and my dad started pushing trolleys for $3 an hour at Coles, trying to get 2 kids by with education as well, and they were studying at the same time.
It's fucking crazy.
If you talk about resilience, like that's a backbone for me.
Yeah.
That's useful for you to see at least, even though it's terrible.
100%.
That's why me and Oscar are so lazy. We've had a very easy life.
People tell me they're doing it tough. I'm like, you have no idea. And my parents had no idea about what tough is compared to what some people do.
And I bet when they were killing it over there at a certain time, they had no idea what was coming.
Like I look at it, man, and it's complete sacrifice for something that's not yourself.
Yeah.
And that's something that's just, I don't even know how to start. Like
Builds character, I bet.
100%. It's yeah.
I reckon we gotta leave it there on that note.
That's
Guys,
very
listen,
intense.
learn. Mate, Meer, tell them where they can find you, social media, what you've got upcoming. Obviously, we've spoken about everything you're doing, but if you've got anything else, let everyone know. Everything.
You can find me, I'm not too savvy on social media. I'm getting better at it. I'm on social media personally as Meer.Awny, A-W-N-Y on Instagram. Facebook, you can add me, it's just my personal page, but it pretty much just filters back to back. You can check out Ethos Performance AU on Instagram as well. That's the business page. What's coming up? Everyone's competing. I'm presenting at the ASCA conference in 3 weeks. I'm really nervous, but I'm also very excited. I was very nervous to be on this podcast today.
Oh, mate, you fucking killed it. Didn't even know.
Nervous in that, like, I like rising to the occasion, but for me, it was just like, get to meet cool guys again, talk
Oh,
shop.
fuck, mate. Thanks for
And
that.
for me, it's
Get buttering us up for that, I guess.
whenever I talk about fighting, for me, I get a bit nervous because I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming up. Conferences, everyone's fighting. Obviously, Tyson and Ty, I'll be in Adelaide.
When's that card?
December 2nd. It's on a Sunday.
Okay,
Nice.
Adelaide.
Good.
That's going to be an awesome card. George is fighting either in December or early January next year. So I might actually go to America with him as well.
Nice.
Hang out, meet Freddie, meet Justin, meet Pacquiao. That'd be awesome.
That'd be sick.
Because they're like awesome buddies now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's some good stories when we interviewed.
100%, man. 100%.
Really good.
So
Gone running with the military?
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that was awesome.
Some
He had like a
crazy
SWAT car
stories.
behind him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was hoping it didn't miss bullets or anything. I was like, oh, about that, man. But yeah, next for you guys, let's get Lauren on the podcast.
Mate, 100%.
He's keen.
There you go, Meer, episode 101. It's been a good one, guys. Make sure you check him out, show your support.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Are you going to use that green screen?